All right. So Evan, tell us about yourself. You're a CRE expert and a finance expert. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and kind of how you got into the space, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, to do that. So I've got about 15 years of investments experience, about half of that in like broader capital markets, wealth management, investment consulting, and then the other half of that in commercial real estate. And that means a lot of different things to people. Uh, to me, it means, I've been in institutional investment management for about eight years on the investor side as well as the investment side. So that's really the two drivers of our business. You need to have investors that drive capital, and then you need to have deals that you invest capital into, right? And they're both unique aspects, and it takes unique skill sets, to make the business go. But today we're here to talk about the investment side, and I've, with regard to that, I've been on the, I would call it portfolio management side in commercial real estate in assets north of $1 billion globally. I've worked for reputable firms that have been backed by some of the largest pension funds in the world, local to the U.S. and other foreign investors and everybody under the sun. And I've actually raised capital globally and invested capital globally throughout the Americas, so South America and the U.S., and participated on the investment side, specifically in multifamily here in Southern California. So underwriting opportunities here and also finding capital to investors to capitalize those deals.
That that's dope. All right. So for task management, uh, Evan, you've worked at various industries in finance, whether it's the CRE side, whether it's wealth management, and generally, from what I understand, uh, to get a deal done requires there to be certain things that need to happen. Whether it's the whatever kind of investment it is, you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you've removed as much risk as possible from the equation as you make that bet. And so my uh, the well, that was going to be a question. So the in doing that, there's a certain number of tasks and actions that need to be completed to make sure that thing happens. So talk a little bit about the differences between the places you've worked and the kind of tasks that you had to get done uh, to have essentially what would be a successful resolution to what you were working on.
So, I'd say first of all, I've operated with and without task managers. I've across my career, and in general, having one allows you to be much more proactive about what needs to be accomplished rather than reactive and potentially missing deadlines, missing steps, and having to power through imperfectly. So I think most people would agree that you need to have one. And then with that understanding, what is the ideal way to manage tasks? Is it through emails with outside third parties, and you have checklists with lenders and other third parties that needs to sign off on this 100 or so list of things that needs to go on in due diligence? And do people need to be getting 30 emails a day about this one deal and sort through what's the most current uh, list, Excel file? I'm being tongue in cheek, but that's how a lot of people approach the deal, and that doesn't even touch on circling the capital potentially. That's just on the investment due diligence. And so it's quite common, I think, in our industry for there to be checklists and task lists done separately, perhaps task lists in multiple different technologies, whether that's on the acquisition side and the investor, capital raising side, and one doesn't talk to the other, and all the challenges around efficiency and timing and trying to come down to the wire on a transaction, and of course it always does. And perhaps that's because of some reactive nature, that's natural in our industry. And I truly believe that the best way to approach the our business of transacting and raising capital to transact is a single task manager, one that doesn't have any redundancy, and it has transparency across functions, so that the acquisition team knows about what's going on the capital stack, and any timing or potential hiccups, and how they need to potentially communicate that to the broker to stay transparent with them, so that they can maintain their relationship and their what's the word, their
Rapport.
credibility. Yeah, maintain their credibility. Hopefully you can cut that, um, so that they can do future deals, right? And so there is just so much. There's the sum is greater than the parts when you're able to act proactively and move as a unit throughout your whole organization, because it compounds over time, your credibility and your gosh, end of the day, what is it called when you have
Productivity?
your credibility and your like
I think credibility
it's
and
like credibility. It's like your I guess this is credibility, but yeah, your credibility,
just call it
credibility
credibility.
in the industry, your credibility in the industry with investors and brokers. Again, back to,
Or reputation. Reputation.
reputation. Thank you. Your credibility and rep. Thank you. That's where I was going. Your credibility and reputation in the industry, because that's, how you maintain your investor and broker relationships, which are the two lifebloods to our industry. And so, if you're able to have better information as you're communicating with them, they have higher trust with you. They're going to be repeat investors, repeat brokers with your organization, and then you're going to get ahead as a result. And so all of that, I really do think comes down to a centralized task manager that helps drive efficiency across the different departments in your organization.
So, so you've used task managers before, and then you decided not to use task managers, and you've gone back and forth. And what were your reasons for not using task managers, that external ones? So, like the Asanas and Jiras of the world. No, that's more of a tech thing. Asanas and Monday.coms and whatnot. What were your reasons for not staying with them, and make you go back to doing it just from your own noggin?
You know, I think that our industry, it's a challenge when we're all so busy in our day-to-day battles with our assets, whether that's asset management or updating our pipeline report. If you're an acquisition person, you're constantly dealing with the challenges of organization, and it's always extra work, so to speak, to stay organized when sometimes there's a more demanding task at hand. And sometimes you're putting information into a task manager that is just for you, and there's no value in putting it in there because it's in your head and you're going to wake up and do it the next day anyways. And so it's not necessarily the most efficient use of time to provide info just so it can provide it back to you, right? And so I can understand that how that can be a challenge for many folks, but with the advent of AI and a system that can leverage having that data, you're getting way more out of putting the input in than just getting it right back out to you the next day because it's providing you future information. It's providing you data that can be used for an intelligence for decisions around future, investments or future decisions around existing investments. And so there is a amplifying effect or an exponential effect that goes into um, having a task manager tied to all the other aspects of the business. And so I think our industry will recognize that at some point, and it will become standardized because uh, as we see, the laws of Moore's laws and technology laws taking hold here in our industry, you're gonna understand why it's important to put that task in there because it's gonna pay dividends in perpetuity.
And just as a final question, so what do you think about the way that Copa Hub has approached task management compared to other things that you've seen?
I think it's beautiful because the task manager is synchronized across functions. You can see how the tasks on the acquisition side are progressing versus tasks on the capital raising side. You can see how it integrates against existing, um, assets or third parties who can integrate into the system to help drive forward the process. And so you no longer have these super long email chains of 20 people on them with legal and lender and 5 people in your organization and looping so and so in and everyone gets an email about it and then you got a checklist and who's quarterbacking the checklist and what's the latest version of the checklist and you got really important people on this email who are getting they have so many emails to deal with and that's not their highest and best use sifting through and deleting these and so it's just it's a bog down of everybody's time and so to have it live in an efficient environment that sees through the whole process and can be suggestive about what next steps need to be taken. It's an incredible advent, and so it's a highly valuable asset to anybody who is interested.
Awesome. Well,